Umenjika, Kuzazangpo, Kimcho, Salamat Pagyavakava, Sana Sante Bawana, Talofa, G'day, how are you? Welcome to Oscar Bento, Visual Ethnography and Storytelling. For those who don't know me, my name is Ross, R-O-S-S, and I'm 52 years old and I live here in Melbourne, Australia. I guess in this video I want to update you with what's been happening to me with regards to the world of spirituality and Yowies and clairaudence, mind speak, and the underworld as such, the spirit realm. Because if this is the first time you've been watching my videos, over the past 3 or 4 years, I've had experiences with the underworld, with the spirit realm, and the creatures that live in it or come to and from the underworld or to and from the spirit realm. Now you might think, wow, that's pretty amazing. How the hell do you do that? Or you might think that I'm full of shit. Or you might think Ross is just trying to make videos so his YouTube channel gets lots of hits and, you know, he gets money from the videos or from the advertising. To be honest, I don't really care what you think. I'm trying to educate you. No, I'm not trying to make money, and no, I'm not making this up. I don't know why it's happened to me. I've got a general idea, because I guess I tend to call myself a bit of a naturalist. I am pagan. Pagan is just another word for a witch or Wicca, witchcraft, whatever you want to call it. I don't necessarily practice witchcraft, and I know I've mentioned this in previous videos. This video might seem to be running along the same lines of a video which I've updated recently, but I don't know, I'm bored. Well, I'm not bored, I want to give you an update because past few months I haven't updated a video. I haven't spoken to camera for a while, so I wanted to give you an update, but I do want to give people who don't know me, new viewers or new friends on social media, I want to give you an update as well as a background into who I am. First and foremost, I know the camera's crooked. I don't give a shit, okay? It doesn't matter if the camera is straight or on a tripod or looking up at me or bird's eye view or whatever. I don't care if it's in black and white or sepia or whatever. As long as you can hear me, that's the main thing. Or people who are deaf, maybe you can lip read. Okay. So yeah, so I've had probably at least 20 outstanding experiences with the spirit realm, the underworld, and the creatures within it. I would especially highlight other bipedal humans. The common term for them is Bigfoot, but there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of names for the Bigfoot phenomena or cryptozoology. And I've mentioned this before, but for viewers who are new to it, some names for these Yowie, for these Bigfoot creatures are, well, in Australia we call them Yowie, we call them Yahoo, Junjidi or Junjari, Mjun, Taramali, I don't know, heaps. In the US and Canada they're called Sasquatch or Sabe, Sasquatch or Sabe, Grassman, Apple Sprites, Mountain Giants. In the Bible they call them Nephilim, Christian Bible that is. In Asia and India, Philippines, Taiwan, Asian countries, whether it's Vietnam or New Guinea, India, they call them Almas and Capri, along with numerous other words describing them. Russia, they call them Yeti and Abominable Snowman. Some people call them witches, Dogman, Mountain Giants, etc. So there's all sorts of names for these bipedal humans which look uncannily like us humans, Homo sapiens. Yes, they do come in all sorts of shapes, sizes, hair colours, body types. Their facial features are different. Some look like dogs that have a snout. Some have a pig face. Some have a bit of a Uncle Fester face. Some are bald. Some are quite ugly. Some are quite ghoulish as such, like Uncle Fester. If you don't know who Uncle Fester is, he's a character on, I think, The Munsters, which is an old TV show. Basically an ugly bald man with a sort of a scrunched up face. So they do come in all sorts of facial features, different hair colours, different heights. Some of them are very, very small. And I'm going to include other creatures from the so-called fairy realm as well. Because for me, in my experiences, I can't really distinguish what I've experienced. I've seen them, I've heard them, I've smelt them, they've spoken to me through mind speak, they've spoken to me through clairaudence. I've had a gut instinct, a sixth sense to leave. I've heard them grunting. Well, I've heard one grunt. I've heard them whooping. I've seen them shape-shifting and cloaking. As I say, I've smelt them. 2 smells I've smelt. I've smelt a dead flesh smell twice and a very strong sewage smell once, or feces. And with the smells, especially one time, it was so strong, and that was a dead animal smell, and there was no dead animal around me because it happened instantly and it left fairly fast as well, and I was standing in the one location, so I wasn't walking past a dead animal. I was standing like I am now, and I didn't smell it, and then the smell came, and then the smell disappeared. It wasn't a gust of wind, it was quite a dead still day. Hang on, bear with me here, bushwalkers walking past me. Bear with me. I always pause whenever bushwalkers walk past me. So yes, I've had lots of experiences, day and night. Whether it's 4 a.m, 4:40 a.m, 2 a.m, midday, 10 a.m, 4 p.m, it doesn't matter. And for the people who are curious or who don't understand, all sorts of people, or anyone really, on any continent, I don't care if you're in Antarctica, I don't care if you're in the middle of the Kalahari Desert, I don't care if you're in the middle of Ahmedabad city, I don't care if you're in the centre of Sydney with high-rise buildings all around, I don't care if you're in the middle of Canada or New Zealand or Scotland or Papua New Guinea or Russia, whether it's a city or the outskirts of a city or bushland, ski fields, a caravan park, a scout camp, a log cabin, a stone house, in the swamps, in the marshes, in the highlands, in the deserts. It can happen anywhere, to anyone, at any time. And what I mean by it can happen is basically what I've experienced. You can hear a voice, you can see it or see them, you can smell them, you can feel their presence. You can even see physical signs, tree structures or stone structures, footprints, hair, etc. You can just be walking along the path, turn a corner, and there's a Sasquatch there enjoying the sun, resting, sitting upright. They might be fishing, they might be walking up a river, gathering their salmon, gathering their fish. They might be sleeping in a cave. I believe that there are numerous types. Different, as I said before, different heights, different hair colours, etc., etc. Some are very small, that's what I was going to say. Fairies, goblins, pixies and elves I'm going to include in these other cryptid creatures. Now, whether or not I've been spoken to by a fairy, I don't know. Whether or not I've been spoken to by a Yowie or a Junjidi, I don't know. Through mind speaking through clairaudence. Whether it was a past ancestor, I don't know. But because I've seen a cloaking male, approximately 5 foot high Yowie creature, and I know it was male because I saw its penis, long flaccid penis, maybe 7 or 8 inches long. I couldn't tell if it was circumcised, but it had a walking stick in its left hand, which it was using. I'm not too sure if I saw its feet. It might have been wearing sandals. But it did have long hair and I believe a long beard. But as I say, that male Yowie, it was cloaking, it was shape-shifting, it was like a watery black and white figure. And I saw him for probably at least 3 seconds. And I wasn't scared at all. But before that, a couple of minutes before that, because this happened probably at least 2 years ago now, during the summertime, maybe 500 metres down the path, when I saw him, and I was daydreaming. But before that, a few minutes before that, as I was sort of daydreaming, facing the river, sitting on a bit of a slope, I had the funny feeling to look to my right, and there was a branch from a tree. And I looked to the right, and about a foot away, I saw a face. Again, it was cloaking, it was shape-shifting. I only saw that face for about maximum 1 second. It actually stunned me. I was shocked. I wasn't scared, I didn't run away. I just stayed in that one spot. For a moment I didn't realise what I saw. I mean, I knew I saw a face, but it disappeared so fast that I was just trying to comprehend what that face was. Now, whether or not that face was the same male I saw 2 or 3 minutes or maybe 5 minutes later, I don't know. I don't think so. I think they were two different Yowie humans. And I say human because they are a type of human. These Sasquatch, Yowie, Sabe, hairy man, grass man, yeti creatures, they are a type of human. So I was shocked when I saw the face, but when I saw the male, it was walking towards me down low, probably about, when I first saw the male, and I saw him from head to ankle basically, old, stooped over, walking towards me, or walking past me. Walking towards me, I was here, and the male, the Yowie, was here, and it walked in front of me. And when it got to virtually almost in front of me, it just vanished into thin air. So I saw the face for about half a second to 1 second. There was a face, but the male, the full-bodied male, which I saw, who was naked with a walking stick and a long hair and beard, and the penis, I saw for at least 3 seconds, possibly 4. No more than 5 seconds, I would think. But I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared by the male. The face, I'd say the face was male. I don't think it was female. I could be wrong, but I only saw a highlight of its head. And it was so quick I couldn't really distinguish any features. I think it had a small mouth, thin lips. The nose, the nostrils could have been a little bit turned up as such, like a native or like a Neanderthal man or a Negroid, nostrils turned up. I guess it was a small nose. The nose wasn't pronounced. The eyes of the face, I think, were fairly large, fairly normal size, but comparing the nose and the mouth to the eyes, the nose and the mouth were smaller than the eyes, if that makes sense. Smaller than usual. Well, thinner mouth. So that was quite interesting. But I wasn't scared by the male. I was quite calm. And I didn't leave for probably at least another 10 minutes. Yes, I've heard them. I've been grunted at. One single grunt. And at the time, it sounded like the grunt lasted like probably 3 or so seconds. Sorry, I thought I heard something in the grass there. If you hear anything odd, always look up as well, people. Okay? I'm not saying they are arboreal. Arboreal means to live in trees, but they do hide in trees up high and observe us. That's one thing they do. These Yowie Sasquatch creatures, they hide up high in trees whilst they're invisible for the most part. They like to observe us humans. For the most part, they don't like us humans, but a lot of them have actually helped us humans, have rescued us, have empathised with us, and as I say, rescued us. There's all sorts of stories. You're going to have to look into it yourself, people. Yeah, but that grunt, it was a very guttural, deep, what I would call not necessarily tribalistic, but when I heard the grunt, you knew that, well, I knew that it was a Yowie. It wasn't a kangaroo. I know kangaroos grunt quite loudly. It wasn't a kangaroo. It was a real deep, guttural human grunt. And I don't want to even attempt to try and imitate that grunt. I've actually forgotten how it sounded. I mean, mind you, if I did hear it again, I would recognise it straight away, but I don't want to imitate it really, because with the spirit realm, you have to understand, it's like whistling at night. Never, never, never whistle at night. It's like you're, well, basically you're asking for trouble. Whether or not you're conjuring them, I'm not too sure, but or imitating them. I don't want to imitate them because I might get a response and I don't want to be shocked or killed or whatever. So never whistle at night, never imitate what you've heard. Bear with me, I'm a bit thirsty. I've heard, so that grunt I heard was one of my very first experiences, probably my second experience, and that was at least 3 years ago. I think it was summer/autumn, because I was going for a bushwalk. I can't remember it raining, it was fairly dry. And that was up around close to Belgrave, up on the top of Mount Dandenong. I've heard a Yowie whooping, and I've mentioned this numerous times. There's a video about me hearing the whoop, and by the way, when I made that video, it was at sunrise, and you could see it was when my beard was shorter and I was dishevelled, and I was still quite scared as I was talking to camera when I heard that, when I was describing that whoop in Creswick a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago maybe, 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, in May, the 1st of May. I hadn't even made a coffee when I made that video. That's how urgent I wanted to make that video. I wanted to make it straight away without losing what I had experienced, if that makes sense. In how sometimes your story changes a little bit over time. But I did hear whoops. It was 5 to 6 groups, whoops, about 5 to 6 seconds long at 4:40 in the morning, and dogs going barking mad, and wolves or coyote howls as well. Probably heard like at least 10 dogs just howling and barking and going mad right throughout that common area where I heard the whoops. But I want to, and I've smelt them, I've described the smells I've had. I've been followed up around the Belgrave area, branches breaking lower and lower and lower as I was walking along an old four-wheel drive track. So the creature was in the trees cloaking, following me out, and it was getting lower and lower and lower. That probably happened two or so years ago as well. But what I want to update you with today is I have mentioned that I have experienced clairaudience twice. And what clairaudience is, it's when you hear something out loud, like a person talking to you, next to you, but you can't see them, but you can hear their voice. And that's happened to me twice at night time in the morning, like 2 a.m. in the morning or 3 a.m. in the morning. Over the past few years, I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping, and I can't really fall asleep till like 4 a.m. unless I'm really, really tired. Then I might fall asleep at like midnight, but that's very rare. So I tend to watch videos. Whether or not that hampers my sleep, I don't know, but I can't sleep. I think one of the main reasons is I want to make sure I feel safe before I fall asleep, because I've had so many experiences, and I know that these creatures, you can experience them day or night. The main time span when people have nighttime experiences with them is actually approximately between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. That's very, very generalised. But as I said, I've heard the whoops at 4:40 a.m. and I've had clairaudience at about 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. or 3:30 or 2:30 or 4 a.m. I didn't really look at the time on my phone, but it was very early in the morning. But more recently, I did have mind speak and I was asleep at the time. This happened maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago, and I was woken up by it. Now, for those of you who think that I was only dreaming and I was woken up by a nightmare, no, I was woken up by mind speak. I've been dreaming for 52 years. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I can tell the difference between a dream or a nightmare, being woken up by that, or being woken up by clairaudience, or being woken up by mind speak. So I was woken up by mind speak, and again it was a female voice. Now with the clairaudience, the voice called out my name. It said, Ross. It was fairly stretched out, fairly spiritual, fairly deep. But with the mind speak that I heard in my mind, it actually said, hello. It said hello. And that was it. And I was stunned by it. And because I was stunned by it, I woke up. Now, I have been woken up by, I believe I was woken up by clairaudience as well. I might have been on the verge. You know how you become on the verge of awake and asleep? You're in that mid-zone. One of the times with clairaudience, I think I was in that mid-zone. I might have just been asleep and then I was woken up by the, excuse me, the clairaudience saying my name. But this time, 4 weeks ago, it said hello in mind speak. And again, my body was being manipulated. It was a bit of an out-of-body experience. It was like, I wouldn't say massaged, but it was manipulated. I was still lying down. I think I was on my side because I tend to sleep on my front, on my stomach and on my side. But I felt my body being manipulated. It was like a snake. My body, my whole body was, I knew my physical body wasn't moving, but the spirit within me, it was like a flexing snake from head to toe. After I heard the voice say hello. And that lasted, that snake manipulation upon my auras or upon my soul or upon my spirit lasted probably a good 3 minutes, and then it slowly faded. I was fairly paralysed by it. I couldn't really move. I don't think I actually wanted to move. In one way, I wanted it to keep on going. So in my awakened state, I could become more consciously aware of what was happening to me, if that makes sense. Because I am interested in, and I aren't totally scared or totally paranoid of what's happened to me. I am cautious though, whether it is seeing them or smelling them or whatever. I mean, in the daylight hours I always wear a PLB when I'm bushwalking. PLB is a personal locator beacon, and I can activate that if I'm in trouble, if I'm in imminent danger. So that's how freaked out I can be. I always wear a PLB. But it's not just being freaked out, it's also being cautious. Because as I said at the start of the video, sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. Hang on. I always wear a PLB because, as I said at the start of the video, these things, whether you smell them or you see them or you hear them or whatever, or a gut instinct to leave, it can happen instantly. And for me, because I've had so many experiences, and because I believe that I'm going more into a deeper state of awareness, whether it's being tuned into their frequency, because things are happening to me more and more often, I'm acutely aware that perhaps one day I might be in imminent danger and I might need to activate my PLB. Whether or not I'm conscious enough to activate it, that's another story. You know, a lot of situations that happen, you actually forget about your surroundings. It's like walking into a portal or even losing time. Thousands of people have gone for a bushwalk and they only think that they've gone for a bushwalk for half an hour, and they'll come back to their car and their friends have been waiting for them for like 7 or 8 hours, and they say, "Where the hell have you been?" And I say, "You've only been half an hour." And they say, "No, stupid, you've been gone for 8 hours. And they're completely oblivious, they're completely unaware that they've lost time. So that's why I say perhaps I won't even activate my PLB even if I am in danger. I will just completely not even consciously be aware to activate it. It's like shitting yourself or pissing your pants because you're so scared. A lot of people don't realise that they've soiled themselves until they gather their thoughts together and they calm down maybe an hour or two or 10 hours later. And I think, oh shit, I've shat my pants. That was a really scary situation. Or perhaps it was so scary that the actual incident that occurred, perhaps by physically seeing a Yowie, they won't remember it because they've been so scared by it. It won't even be in their memory. Their body has shut down so much that they've blanked it out. Okay. So that's about it, people. It's gone for about 40 minutes now, this video. And the sun's starting to set here in Melbourne. But I just wanted to give you an update with regards to the mind speak that occurred 4 or so weeks ago. And as I say, for people who are unaware of these creatures, you probably have heard of the term Bigfoot, but you've got no idea of what they are, how powerful they are. You probably didn't realise that they cloak. You probably didn't realise that they that they mind speak, or they observe us from trees or whatever, project emotions, emit odours, etc. But you have to understand, firstly, that First Nations peoples all over the earth, for literally hundreds of thousands of years, they have lived alongside these other humans and lived alongside fairies and goblins and apple sprites and sabe and mountain giants, etc. Okay, they're acutely aware of them. They know of them. Their ancestral narratives in their rock art, etc., describe them. Oh, here comes some bushwalkers. Bear with me, there's bushwalkers next to me. They don't know that I'm talking to camera. If I speak a bit louder, they'll turn around and stare at me and they think that I'm a dill. So anyway, native peoples, tribal peoples, have always known about them. Yes, they're mentioned in the Bible. Yes, I believe that they're mentioned in fairy tales and folklore, ancestral stories, whether it's Hansel and Gretel describing a witch, or whether it's the water babies, perhaps describing Mami Wata. So there's all sorts of ancestral narratives, okay? And as I say, they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and hair colours, etc. Some look like dogs, some are tiny, some are 16 foot tall or even taller. And there's plenty of evidence, people. You just have to look into it. I'm not going to, talk to you about evidence. You can do that yourself. I'm only just one person who is making this video for you to learn by, if that makes sense. I'm describing to you what I've experienced. You don't have to believe me. As I said at the start, I'm not doing this for fame. I'm not doing this to make money. If anything, for the average Joe who listens to me, they would probably think that it's a disservice to myself. You would think that I'm a lunatic. You would think that I'm an idiot or a drug addict, who has smoked some weed and who has hallucinated. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. But yes, I am pagan. I believe that I do have a deep spiritual awareness with the spirit realm, and it's coming to fruition for me. It's like tree spirits or animal spirits. I've seen these 3 trees here right next to me, 5 metres away. I've seen auras coming out of these 3 trees. It's been a bit of a fairy landscape, a bit of a Willy Wonka's garden or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory's garden. Very dreamscape for me. It's being on a higher sensory level, higher sensory perception, a different frequency. And that's what I believe what happens to people. They somehow latch onto this frequency, or they're allowed to become in tune with this frequency, and all of the creatures on that frequency, whether it's a pixie or a goblin or a Yowie or a Sasquatch or a spirit from a tree, They can feel them, they can smell them, they can sense them, they can hear them. So that's what's been happening to me. I've been going to and from this frequency, or perhaps they have allowed me to see them or allowed me to smell them while I'm just going for a bushwalk, perhaps. I will mention though, I've had tinnitus for the past 4 or 5 months constantly, day and night as well. I think that's very important as well. I think that's a factor. So yeah. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you've learnt something. Look into it if you're interested. Please don't judge me and think that I'm a lunatic. If you have any questions, ask me. If you want to come with me on a bushwalk and you want to talk to me about it, I'd be more than happy for you to join me. I can even take you to some locations where I've had experiences, if you so desire. But yeah, that's about it. Hope you're well, hope you're safe. Be prepared, be cautious. Don't be paranoid. You don't have to freak out. But just be aware that yes, it can happen to anyone. I didn't ask for it. But because I'm pagan and I love nature and I'm very, very interested in tribal cultures, it's come to fruition for me. I think it's come to fruition quite naturally, to be honest. For some people, they may never experience it. And I believe that's partly due to your lifestyle. You're so busy at work or paying bills or paying off a mortgage, it might not happen at all. But it might happen one day. You might just walk around a corner on a bushwalk and boom, there's a Yowie, there's a Sasquatch. Or you might lose time. Or you might hear something, or you might have rocks thrown at you while you're fishing or while you're canoeing, etc. Anyway, I'm going to leave. There's some noisy bushwalkers. You be good, you be safe, and do your bloody homework. Thank you.